Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel, Art Classes My Way, where I make videos based on what you guys tell me in the comment section you want to learn. Alright, so we are going to try to finish this guy up here for our last video. Now this part you may or may not want to do for sure. You could end up taking all these little ends or whatever little ends you have and go hog wild with the curly cues and just go absolutely nuts over it. And that is totally fine. But I'm actually going to kind of experiment a little bit with this video. I'm going to either do one of two things. I want to either show you how to do one of these guys with your bench block, flattening it out and trying to get him a little bit of shaping going on with this copper here. Or I am just going to fast forward speed through it and I'm going to be fiddle farting around with some different video editing stuff that I've never done before. So fingers crossed. And I wanted to do a shout out to Melissa Wood as well. She commented that she thinks that this stone, which I was told when I bought it at a store that was going out of business, that it was a bloodstone. She believes it was a Norina jasper from Australia, and actually going and looking that up online, that sure enough is what it definitely looks like. So I do think she is right on this point. So thank you very, very much for that. I don't want to give out misinformation, but while I do love stones and stones are beautiful, I never did take any science classes for stones. Sometimes I wish I did, but you know, pretty shiny rocks, shiny things. Alright, so for this video, what you are going to need a bench block. Do not use a rubber bench block. You are going to get absolutely nowhere, and your piece is just going to get filthy, nasty, dirty, and yucky, and ugh. I really have yet to truly understand what the purpose is behind those rubber bench blocks. I really have not figured that out. You may or may not need your looper. You could also probably use your round nose as well if you want to get smaller curly cues and whatnot. We're also going to be using a hammer. My hammer, it looks very, very flat, but there is a tiny bit of bevel to it. You can really, it's a feel kind of a thing. I can feel that bevel on there, how it comes out just a tiny bit from this edge. But regardless, that's just something. Definitely before you start hammering on your piece, get a couple of practice wires to play with before you actually go hammering at it with this guy. And probably going to need some nippers. Last thing is probably going to be some files. Now, I do have a variety of files from the hardware store. I've had these guys for quite a long time. And you don't necessarily need all of these guys, but it's whatever I happen to grab out of the bag is what I end up using. Something with a flat end, I'm sure. Alright, so to get started, looking at my book, which is off camera. If you want to see the design that I drew up, you can see video 2 for that. And I'm going to go with something over here. Now you can see where I have bent this guy down. Now whenever you end up doing any kind of hammering, you pretty much want to put your piece into the shape that you want it to be in at the end. Now you can probably do a couple of little adjustments to it, but as far as making it, if I widen this part out and I want to change the hoop on it, the roundness going this way, that's going to be impossible. I'm just going to end up twisting and bending this copper into all kinds of directions it does not want to go. Even if I were to heat it up with a small flame, candle, and trying to soften him back up after being work hardened, it's still not going to do you any good whatsoever because just the way the metal got moved. And we'll see how it goes. I don't really know how to deal with sound and a variety of things when making videos, I just started all this to see what would happen. One day I may do a hammering video. God help me on that one. It is loud and it is noisy. It is fun though. So I'm going to go in here and I want to kind of widen this out to give it a little bit of style. Now, once I get that widened out, I don't want the whole thing widened out. I want some roundness, so that way I do still have an area where I can flip him back over. But once I flatten him, even though I cannot change the shape going on the inside or the outside, I still can flip it over. The wire part of it's not really changed that much. So it's fun. I bet you there's a lot of you out there cringing that I want to bust this thing, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll find out. Check out over on this side. Now you're probably able to notice that while I'm hammering, I'm hitting way harder over here than I am over here or on the edges. I am basically hitting here, and then the texture from where the hammer is hit, I am basically trying to slowly feather that texture out, so that way I still have a nice smooth texture when I'm done. So there's a lot of subtlety to this, and while even then when I'm hitting harder, I'm still hitting a good chunk of the bench block because I'm kind of providing a safety net for myself. It's better to do it in little bits. And like I said, you can heat this guy back up and soften him with just a candle. That's not a big deal. Stones, not all of them, but a good chunk of them that you'll probably end up messing with. Stones can withstand a great deal of heat, I'm sure you know. Not sudden and immediate heat, don't just, throw it over the top. But since this wire is quite a bit away and the stone is not going to be ending up in an actual flame, it's going to be more indirect radiating heat. You can always heat a wire like this to soften him back up if you feel you've work hardened it too much. Now I'm going to go a little bit further here. Alright, now that makes me a lot happier. Now I am going to go in here with a file. That's a nice flat guy. And some of these wonky little areas that you may or may not be able to see. See if I can get a shine to go on. Some of the wonkier areas along here, I'm going to go ahead and try to file some of that down so that way it looks just a little nicer, a little bit more intentional. And that's a pretty easy thing to do. I'm not trying to file it flat, but I'm trying to take the peaks off. And when you're using a file, it's not back and forth, back and forth. That's not going to get you anywhere. One fluid motion in one direction is going to take care of pretty much all of it for you, but it is a pain in the butt to get started with the file because you got to get them grooves down so that way the file actually wants to grab a hold of things. And just make sure I'm knocking off any edge that I might be putting on it. I don't want a sharp edge on this. Just want to knock some of that bumpiness out of there. And also, by going over the length of the piece, think of it as laying your file down flat on whatever it is that you're filing, and then the low areas will get skipped, but then the high areas, they'll be the only ones that are getting hit. There we go, that makes me a little happier. And I'm going to get a one with a round side, or at least a semi-round. Whoop, that is not what I want. You. Alright. And going to be the same kind of thing, although when you're doing this guy, it is just basically on the high ends. You can't really quite do what you could do with the other one. But I'm using my finger here to keep my file from getting into the low areas that I don't want it to get into. Filing is not a speedy thing. It is something that is going to take a little bit of time, and you're just going to have to find the fun in it. It is not fun like everything else that you probably will end up doing. It is a maintenance thing. But you know what? You still got to do it. Make your piece look nice and finished and polished, as opposed to, well, good enough. Because that kind of attitude will always come out in your piece. And you just didn't care. Alright. And now just going to fold him over. Flop. Slowest flop in the world. And I actually have to grab my round nose for this. See how well he does not want to behave for me. Yeah, I might have to heat him up off camera to get him to do what I want him to do. Pinch, pinch, pinch. You move. Pinch. Alright, yep, looks like I'm going to have to heat him up off camera, which I'll worry about later. I mean, it's pretty easy, just candle, light it over the flame, wait till it kind of changes colors, and then you're good. And then from there, there's just a little polishing cloth to get that color off or any soot or anything along those lines off. But that'll do for now. I'm a sucker for the Art Nouveau style, so that's why I'm flattening out a few of these, not all of them. Plus, that is a matter of bringing one style down into the bottom part, since I will be filing these guys down into those little teardrop shapes. You just don't want it to suddenly all of a sudden have hammering work done to it. You want it kind of up in your piece, maybe in a couple of other places, just to make it look like, oh, it was planned all along. Which I did have it planned all along, but I'm not going to quite do this guy as severe as I did the other one. And since I didn't do a whole lot of changing to him, I'm actually not going to worry about filing him because he ended up being a lot smoother. This guy I did a lot of dramatic change to. I really, really hammered him down to get a broader stroke. So I'm not gonna have to worry about that so much with this one. Yeah, now I will have to. All right, I'm gonna have to play with him as well. All right, so we're starting to get our look going here that I was hoping for. Okay, now for this wire, let's see here. Okay, so there's not too terribly much going on with this one. He does curl out just a tiny bit, so I'm gonna grab him with my looper and just kind of shape him just a tiny bit the way I want him. And all that beautiful wire, don't you worry anybody, this is all going to get turned into something else eventually. Won't waste any of that beautiful wire. All right. I'm gonna have to cut that longest one. He's just wanting to cause all the mischief he can possibly cause. Now I'm trying to soften this really abrupt area right here. And that's something I really want to control pretty hardcore, so it's just softer tapping. Well, not tapping, but hitting. All right, and there we have it. Again, a lot of big drastic changes went on in this guy, so I am going to go through and hit him with the file. Alright, and I'm going to shape this teardrop shape up just a little bit more. I hope I'm staying in camera. I'm trying something new, and I apologize if I'm not. Oop, wrong side. Dummy. All right. All right, now that, and make sure you run your your fingers over. Make sure, and I do definitely feel it. I feel something there on the end. Make sure that you don't feel anything that can catch. Make sure you don't feel anything that feels... You just want a nice, smooth, polished finish when you run your fingers over the edges. And I'm just knocking off any little... Not really putting a whole lot of effort into this part, but just trying to knock off any little ledges or lips that are really sharp, that are perhaps still on there, created by the file, which it doesn't feel like there is anymore. Maybe on this side. And there we have it. One little teardrop shape. Now let's see here. This one was much shorter. And sometimes maybe you're not quite getting the round shape that you're wanting to get with your hop or your loopers. I keep wanting to call it a hopper. Can't tell that I grew up on a farm at all. Sometimes maybe you're not getting the curvy shapes that you're wanting to get exactly. For there, I recommend, if you go to yard sales and such, finding knitting needles. Because they have, I mean, they get knitting needles that are like this big around. And then you have a wonderful way to gauge these guys and trying to get a wider shape, what have you. Another alternative option, if you have one of them good-for-nothing husbands running around with the big old tool shop, likes to play with wood but never seems to build anything, I'll go steal some of his dowel rods and use those. Currently, I'm going to check what I've got against my picture here that I've sketched up. Yeah, I got that right where I want him. So I'm going to go ahead and nip that off. Give a little extra just in case. Always shape it. Alright, and then now for the other one, Sometimes I also like to use just the natural shape of my finger, the roundness part here. I really get involved. I like manhandling things. I can't help it. Just rough and wild, I guess. Surprised Sammy hasn't given me any commentary yet. Oh well, she may yet. Her and Vash are always up to shenanigans. Alright, and check it against my picture again. Give you a little bit more turn. There we are. And tiny bit extra just in case. And by a tiny bit, where my finger is, that's where my picture stops. So I'm just giving it a little extra more. There we go. Alright. Now, for you, you don't have a whole lot. You get out of my way. A bit too much. Yeah. Sorry for being quiet, just not a lot to say at this point here. Just trying to get him to do what I want him to do, and he's not doing it. So, back to square one a little bit. Smish, smish. And a little extra. Maybe if I do that to try to bend it along with, I think that did it. Okay. And put him up against my picture again. And just so you guys don't think I'm a guy hater out there, I love you fellas. You guys are all great. I love my husband to death, and he's a no good nothing. I love him though. Had to teach the boy how to hammer. But all you fellas out there are wonderful, wonderful individuals. But sometimes even you'll admit you do silly things. And it's what makes you no good rotten, like my kids. Speaking of which, the Samwise is eating the naughty dog's food. She has her own food. But yet, there she is. Alright, and you're going to get nipped right there. And tiny bit extra. Now, even smaller pieces, I am holding on to all of these littler pieces, so that way one day when I can afford to buy what I need to buy to cast and do soldering and different things like that and all that fun stuff, I will have a collection of little snippets and tidbits that go into a Tupperware. My Tupperware of doom. If I could show you the bottom of it, you just see littered with all kinds of bits and pieces of wire. One day, I will have that in my little forge area, and that's where they're all going to go. Alright, now for the next piece. And you're going to follow this piece pretty much. Just a little bit more outwards. Alright, and I'm going to cut him up here. And then got you up here. Give you a little bevel out. You out of my way. Now, I don't want this to be perfectly symmetrical, obviously, but I want it to feel in a way symmetrical. And even though this guy is going to be longer, he's still going to be shorter. He's going to be someplace in between these two. And actually, in reality, from my drawing, even though it looks great on my drawing, I think I might have to still make him yet longer than this guy. He's going to be in between this one and this one, as opposed to in between these two. But that's okay. We all need to learn to adjust and adapt. little more swoop in there. And swoop is an artistic term. I have decreed it. As if my word, anything I say means anything. And give you some curve. And time for the snip. So probably about right here. All right. Now, moving things around to be exactly where I want them, so that way when I get to the hammering stage, I don't have to do a whole lot. All right. There we go. Move everything out of my way here so that way you can see. Got the feet of my tripod in that. Why didn't you tell me? Okay, so pretty darn close to what I got going here. And when I made my sketch, I took the stone, laid him down on the paper and traced around him, so that way it would be pretty much to the size that I'm wanting to get. And this guy's got a little bit too severe. I want him to be a little bit more delicate. Like a string dangling. And you as well. There we go. There, a little droopier. Nice. All right. Now, as to what I was saying a little bit earlier about when you're hammering wire here. Now, from this point, I will never be able to grab a hold of this guy and bend him more. Again, if you have to experience it for yourself, go ahead and do some hammering to a wire that is not related to your piece and give it a try and see what happens. You're not going to be happy with the results, but, you know, there are some people out there, I'm definitely one of them that, well, I gotta experience this for myself. So even though I've been told not to do it, I'll get a little piece of something to find out why exactly. Especially when somebody doesn't elaborate too much, like I'm currently not. I have to see it for myself. And actually, you know what? Talking about all these little nippets and tidbits here, I'm gonna melt this guy down anyway. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. So what happens when you try to bend something like that, he doesn't want to. Even if we were to, and I don't have a candle currently with me to do it with, but one, he's not going to want to be held on to. He's going to want to possibly turn every which way and do everything he can to flip himself around to bend another direction. So this is the only way he's going to want to work. You have no other way, possible chance or hope to get him to do anything else. And so that's why you want to pre-shape before you start hammering. And see, I'm even trying to turn a smaller piece of it that I can control more of the body. And you can see it's just not going to work. For all of you out there who are much more visual. So, yay, fun. You don't want your piece to end up all jacked up like that. So, alright, I'm going to separate this part of the video from the next part of the video. So, you had to endure all the hammering sounds? Let me know what you think of them, but for the rest of this, I'm going to try to do a fast-forward montage dealy-bob and maybe some pleasant musical overlays. Woo, getting fancy here. Perhaps Flight of the Bumblebee for this. So, I will see you guys in a second. Be ready. Alright, so here is the finished piece. Sorry for all the hammering and there being no sound for the previous middle part there, but I don't have any music that I can play that isn't copyrighted, and I don't want to get in trouble or get any of my videos taken down. Put a lot of work into these guys for that. So here is the finished piece, and I've already attached a necklace piece to it and made the clasp as well, as you can see. If you want to learn how to do this whole part, that is my video crimp video, that you can learn how to do this yourself with your own wire and whatnot, so that way your piece doesn't feel like, oh, well, here's a handmade piece and then here is a pre-bought piece. No, the whole thing's all made by you this way. Alright, I hope this video was of help to you guys. I'm thinking I'm going to make a couple of other videos on how to trap your own stones and cabochons and everything else, because there's multiple ways, and there is also a cold connection method of making your own bezel as well. So I am thinking about making those videos. Let me know what you guys think, if there was any of that would interest you, yes, no, or what have you. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out a great deal. Sharing also helps me out immensely. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this little project. I did get a comment in the comments section about taking pictures of my pieces and having those as the backgrounds to my intro part before you guys, you know, the little, there's a word for it now. Darn it. Oh, bad cat's up to no good. My little beginning clips for my videos anyway. Let me know what you guys think of that. I was kind of trying to brand it so that way when you saw one of my videos popped up, you'd know instantly, oh, that's one of that person's videos. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being too rigid about that. So let me know that as well. The other problem with doing that is that I am literally making these pieces, making the video. Come on, guys. I'm literally making these videos and immediately posting them. So a lot of the times, I mean, this piece just now got finished by the time I posted it. So those other videos would have had to have been put on like a wait list until this piece was done in order for me to put it. Or I can just put a picture of these after the fact, and now that it's done, I can go back through and rechange how the intro clips look when you go to click on these videos. Let me know what you guys think. More than happy to hear any suggestions out there. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me on this little project. I hope it helps you out a lot. Or a little, just any kind of help in general. I'm here for that. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.